Welcome to the NBA All-Time Teams Tournament. We bring you a one-game series in the quarterfinals and semifinals and a best-of-3 in the conference finals and the NBA finals, 5-minute quarters. Here's the greatest 16 NBA franchises according to Hall of Fame players, championships, and the like. The talent is incredible for this upcoming tournament. We bring you Michael Jordan and the all-time Chicago Bulls, Kobe Bryant, the all-time LA Lakers, Patrick Ewing and the all-time New York Knicks, Larry Bird and the all-time Boston Celtics, Tim Duncan, the fundamental and the all-time San Antonio Spurs, Allen Iverson of the all-time Philly 76ers, and Curry for the all-time Warriors. We bring you the opening game of the series, all-time Phoenix, all-time Los Angeles. The Lakers are rich with an incredible amount of talent to begin these playoffs. None were better on opening night than Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. Kobe Bryant with 8 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 steals, and he goes coast to coast on this jam in the third quarter to lift LA up 27-16, and then would get it going with a beautiful fall away on Steve Nash for Kobe Bryant's final bucket of the game. Here's a look at the Shaquille O'Neal assist to Gail Goodrich, an incredible amount of Hall of Fame players for the LA Lakers who cruised past Phoenix 45-28. LeBron James led the way for Los Angeles with 13 points on 4 of 8 shooting in just 14 minutes. The Spurs have had the number of Denver in so many playoff series. We'll get off to a hot start in this one, led by the big men David Robinson and Tim Duncan. But Denver's got a pretty good big man of their own, 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic, who is trying to spark plug a huge Denver comeback on the road. This and one trims the lead to 4, already with 10 points for Joker. But San Antonio, once up by 19, would hang on for the win here at home. Here's a look at their last defensive series of 3-2 against the Nuggets. The Spurs take care of business and will play the Lakers in the semifinals with a win to advance, knocking out the Nuggets 46-23. Denver was 0 for 11 from the three-point line. Credit Duncan and Parker on offense and that great defense as well. Next Western Conference game, all-time Thunder and Seattle Supersonics against the all-time Rockets in Houston. And the Stars were out in this game early. Hakeem Olajuwon for the all-time Rockets, and then James Harden for the all-time Thunder and Sonics. But it is Kevin Durant who stood out above the rest and was the player of the game. He was spectacular. He was shooting just about every time he touched the ball. This is an and one on Houston's Dwight Howard. Then off of a Sean Kemp assist, he would get on the board there already with 12. Then off another dime into the corner for Durant. Houston was down by 6 with under 35 seconds remaining in the game and would hit a couple of triples here down the stretch and would come back to force overtime. A lot of defense in the overtime session, a 3-minute OT period. OKC would get on the board. Kevin Durant was shooting all night after a miss at Spencer Haywood, who would score what wound up being the only points of overtime, as this three was no good. And the all-time Thunder Sonics survive on the road, winning this one in overtime 54-52. As mentioned, Kevin Durant was hacking shots left and right, but finished with 22 points and 2 assists. The Thunder Sonics mix of teams will be the winner of this one, Kings and Warriors, and Wilt Chamberlain, who began his career with the Philadelphia and San Francisco Warriors, was the player of the game, the very man who led the league in scoring 5 seasons in a row and had his 50-point-per-game season in a Warrior uniform. He was unguardable against the small Sacramento defense. There's the turnaround there for Wilt and the slam dunk on the assist from Draymond Green. Golden State was just 1 for 12 from 3, but it didn't matter as Wilt Chamberlain was a man amongst boys, finishing with 16 points on 7 of 8 shooting for Golden State. The West bracket for the all-time tournament is complete. Lakers will play San Antonio, and the Thunder in the Kevin Durant Bowl will visit Golden State. Now we head over to the Eastern playoffs, beginning with the 8-seed Atlanta Hawks and the 1-seed Boston Celtics, loaded with championships, the most in the NBA, and Hall of Fame players. Bill Russell might be the best of them all. He hits the opening jumper. Paul Pierce, the truth, with the step back. Then Larry Bird getting his hands involved defensively with the strip, and then the assist. An and one to Paul Pierce. A thing of beauty there, and Boston doesn't just win, but they dominate against Atlanta, beating the Hawks 47-26. Pierce with 10, Russell with 10, and Bob Cousy with another 6 for the Celtics. All-time New York Knicks, all-time Milwaukee Bucks. Star-studded lineup in New York featuring Walt Frazier, John Starks, Amari Stoudemire, Patrick Ewing, and the man in the middle there, 10-time All-Star and a Hall of Famer from Syracuse in Carmelo Anthony. And he was ready to roll in Milwaukee to begin the all-time teams tournament. Here is Anthony off of a beautiful Walt Frazier pass there for the bucket, and then Melo does it himself. Outstanding turnaround for the go-ahead field goal for New York. This was a back-and-forth game with about a dozen lead changes. Giannis there for the bucket, and then Giannis getting involved again on the opposite side to tie the game at 38. Then John Starks with the strip and a New York comeback and the jam. Following Anthony drive is good for 2, and then New York would seal it with under a minute left with this Carmelo corner 3. New York advances to the semis with a win on the road in Milwaukee, 47-40. Anthony was 3 for 3 from the line and finished with 17 points and 2 rebounds for New York. And now we head to Chicago, where arguably the greatest player in the history of the game is lacing it up for the first time in the NBA All-Time Teams Tournament, battling Miami. But player of the game in this one was his teammate Scottie Pippen, believe it or not. It was one of the weirdest voting of all time, but Scottie was getting involved, dishing here to Michael Jordan, and then scoring himself on the following possession, accounting for the first 4 for Chicago. Here's Scottie off of a strip. He gets by everybody at the defense, a Miller foul, and a Chicago lead. MJ doing it himself. A little two-man game in Chicago. And then in the fourth quarter, Derrick Rose lobs it up for Scottie Pippen. And then the game sealers right here. Rose to Jordan, and the Bulls knock out Miami in the opener. A quiet day from Dwayne Wade as the Heat dropped this one 42-35. As you can see, Jordan scored more points than Scottie Pippen, but Pippen won the player of the game nonetheless. 15 for MJ on 15 shots. 2 rough and tough all-time teams meet in Philadelphia in the Pistons and the 76ers. Led by Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace, Detroit had the number of Philadelphia in so many playoff series. And early on, Detroit would enjoy the advantage against Philly, but Iverson dishes an and one here with a Hamilton foul to give Detroit a 12-10 lead. And then Isaiah Thomas would get cooking in this one for the Pistons as they would lead about wire-to-wire in the second and the third. Joe Dumars put together his typical contributions, as does Isaiah going coast to coast here. And Detroit would jump back in the lead with that shot. And then Joe Dumars again. This was back and forth in the fourth quarter, and a good one. Ewing, not too often a knockdown three-point shooter, but he drills that one. And Chuck from the foul line. Charles Barkley, good on the 15-footer. Isaiah Thomas back on the board there, tied at 36 with 90 seconds left. AI there for the 3 to lift him in front. And then Hal Greer with player of the game honors as he scores 13 points in this one for Philly, who lead by 6 late in the game. After Detroit hits 2 free throws, they would get involved defensively. Thomas with the strip, Dumars with the drawn foul, but he missed both free throws. And after Philly hits theirs, this jumper is no good, and the all-time 76ers come back in the fourth quarter to win this one by the final score of 46-38. Hall of Famer for the Bad Boys Pistons in the 80s, Joe Dumars. Not much of a scorer in his career, but he was in this game today. 17 points on just 9 shots. Big day from both Hal Greer and Julius Erving. Here's a look at the updated NBA All-Time Teams Tournament. We're down to the final 8. Single elimination for this round as San Antonio visits LA. A KD Bowl between the Thunder Sonics and the Warriors. Then in the East, it's the Knicks at the Celtics and the Bulls at the 76ers. An entertaining series so far. This is the NBA All-Time Teams Tournament with Charge Dude 95.